Girl. Warrior.
Chica.
Hija.
Hello, my name is Chloe Ajari.
Hello, my name is Sue Anjao.
Hello, my name is Shirley Robles Reyes.
Hello, my name is Anika Vigelo Estela Tapulin.
I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya.
I grew up moving around a lot.
I grew up in West Orange, New Jersey.
I grew up in Lynn, Massachusetts my whole life.
I have 2 older siblings. I have an older brother and a sister.
One brother, one younger brother.
2 siblings. I have 2 small sisters. One is 17 and the other one is just about to turn 10.
3 siblings. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother.
I have 2 parents.
I have 2 parents, mom and dad.
I have 2 parents. I do love them very much, but we've had a lot of issues recently, so I'm not very close to them anymore.
Yeah, I have 3 parents, my mom, my stepmom, and my dad. I have 2 living parents. So, yep.
I grew up in a Christian household.
I grew up as a Christian my whole life.
In a Christian household.
So I grew up going to church, but my parents weren't really religious until I was a teenager.
And what's interesting is I feel like it was pretty diverse in that we wouldn't really attend just like a specific type of church.
So we kind of bounced around to different types of churches, like Seventh-day Adventists, that we do church on Saturdays, and then we did Pentecostal type of churches, or Baptist, Evangelical, and it was just really different. So, yeah.
I think my favorite color was blue.
Probably purple, pink. Then I went through a black-blue phase when I didn't want to be so girly. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh, magenta.
I would always tell people, like kids in class, would be like, "What's your favorite color?" And I'd be like, "Oh, rainbow." And like they're like, "That's not a color." So like it would just constantly change.
Looking back, I'm realizing I just had so many phases of different things. My favorite food was probably chicken and potatoes. I love potatoes. Like,
It's so random. It's such a random question.
I like all types of potatoes, fried, boiled, like every single variation of potatoes and chicken. And we have this thing called chapati in Kenya that I really love. It's like naan, but it's not as hard. It's quite soft.
Either tamales or pozole, which is like a red, spicy chicken soup.
And then it was like you would get, there's a specific box that you would get at the store. So it was that one, not anything else though.
Pasta, hands down.
My favorite toy was a small yellow teddy bear.
I don't know if they have this in the States, but in Germany they made pregnant Barbies.
Okay, wait, we gotta get real specific here because I realized I had my Barbie doll phase, right? And that has still been an ongoing thing.
I liked books. I liked storybooks.
It was like one of those like Beanie Babies, and it had a little sweatshirt that said Boston on it. And I remember my parents gave it to me, and I had it like throughout my whole childhood.
Me and my best friend she had a pregnant Barbie doll, so I wanted a pregnant Barbie doll. So I got a pregnant Barbie doll, and according to my mom, like I used it all the time.
For anyone watching this that was super into Ever After High and also got those dolls were freaking gorgeous. I think that's probably where like my fashion design / like costuming brain really started because their dresses and everything were so detailed and elegant.
We used to go buy a storybook with my dad, and I'd start reading it on the way home, and chances are I'd be done with it by the time I was getting home. So, yeah.
I dreamed of being everything.
I dreamed of becoming different things.
What did I dream of becoming?
I couldn't ever really decide what I wanted to be growing up.
There's a time I wanted to be a police officer at traffic specifically. I don't know why. I can't remember.
But I made a list, and I kid you not, the list was like baker, cook, firefighter, policewoman, doctor, nurse, hairstylist, makeup artist. Like, so it was literally everything you could ever think of was in that job list because I just believed that I could do anything I put my mind to, and I was like, why stop at one job when I could do anything I could ever want to?
So I would change it all the time. I would say, I want to be a cook, I want to be a baker, I want to be an artist, I want to be a singer, or I want to be a teacher.
In high school, I really wanted to be a marine biologist. I still do actually. Like, I think if I wasn't on the psych path, marine biology is what I would choose.
But I'd say the dominant one was growing up, I really wanted to be a lawyer. I think I have a really strong sense of justice, and I get carried away and I feel like I want to do something about it. But it takes a lot to be a lawyer.
My childhood crush is named Jewel.
Oh my gosh, Justin Bieber was my first childhood crush.
Oh crap, that's crazy.
This neighbor that lived in the same apartment complex that we grew up in.
I love Justin Bieber. I loved One Direction.
This guy named Troy.
I can't remember a single thing about him except for the fact that he always wore shorts. Always. Even throughout the winter. And I don't think he ever got sick. And then there was one day he wasn't in class and my entire class flipped out because that kid did not miss class.
I was in 4th grade at the time. Oh my gosh, it was so stupid. And I'm so glad that I don't really see him anymore.
I remember for my, I think, 12th birthday or something, I had a cake and like cupcakes around it. I think my mom just had too much of these stories. Like they all had like a picture of someone I was kind of really into at the moment. And I'll always remember that.
It turns out because he kept wearing shorts, he really did end up getting sick and like missed a day. So
I'm just like, no, you're in 4th grade. Like, girl, don't even.
Growing up, I wasn't as like sports like oriented. The rest of my family was.
So I used to run and I used to swim. I tried basketball because I'm tall and I was told you're gonna be great in basketball. It was a lie in my case.
I played lacrosse my entire life growing up.
I swam for a little bit. I played tennis for like 2 months.
My parents have played basketball their whole lives and soccer, and they've run like sports leagues. But I was the one kid who like didn't like it. Like they would force me to do it, but I just like was not good at it.
Kenyans are kind of known for marathons, which is funny, but I don't know. It's a coincidence that I used to run long distance as well.
I definitely danced a lot. I actually danced for 15 years, and within those 15 years, I competitively danced for 4 of them.
I was definitely influenced by my brother a lot, and lacrosse is still something I love. Like, it's a sport I love to play, but it's not like the most important thing in my life anymore, which it used to be.
The one thing I was good at was like gymnastics and cheer. I really love doing that, so that's the one sport I can count. But for the most part, I've always just been more of like an artsy person. Like,
I like the arts. I did a taekwondo class for like a year, and it was quite interesting. And a couple of years ago, I think I was like 10, and I still remember some basics. So I try to pride myself in that.
I also was involved in theater. I took voice lessons to continue to study voice.
I would always like play with my parents like film camera, or like just enjoy like painting or like drawing or like tracing stuff. Yeah, I don't know. That was my thing, and then everyone else did sports.
I enjoyed school some days, and I think there are other days where I like really didn't want to be there.
I liked school, but not that much.
School for me, I think was enjoyable. Definitely wasn't like easy for me.
I had a lot of anxiety as a kid, if that makes sense. So it was enjoyable at times, but it was difficult because there weren't a lot of adults who really understood that I was anxious. Even people in my family didn't really understand what exactly was going on.
I had a lot of social anxiety growing up, like really, really bad. So there were days where I would cry because I did not want to go to school.
I enjoy school now because I'm studying what I like. But
But high school like rocked, bro, because that's when the Lord was really faithful to my prayer and actually brought in a lot of amazing friends that were just incredible.
I think my favorite parts about school were some of the friends I made. So I went to an international school, so I had a lot of exposure to different cultures and a lot of American and German culture as well.
It was honestly just a place to go and hang out with my friends.
My favorite thing to do with my friends was ride bikes around the neighborhood and have bike races or water gun fights.
Me and my best friend, like after school, we would go to her house and we would climb a tree. There was like this huge tree outside of her apartment building, and we were singing it about our different childhood crushes. And we would sing to it, like with Taylor Swift lyrics, like the tunes, Taylor Swift tunes, and just rewrite our own words. Oh wow, I forgot that was a thing that we did. So yeah.
We used to get out of the house, sit at the stairs, and just make stories for hours. And that's like a core memory right now. We didn't realize how good we had it back then.
I also loved going out with friends. Whenever there was a dance competition, that was always a blast.
Would collect bottle caps. All of the neighborhood kids, we were all really close because like our parents like would always at work, and so like we would be home alone, and for some reason we could like go outside, and we would collect bottle caps, like beer bottle caps or like Coke bottle caps, and like we'd make it a game and like pretend it was money, and whoever had the most was like the richest, and that was probably my favorite thing. Yeah. The home I grew up in was a brick building, like it was really old and run down, on like kind of like next to like a busy it was pretty close to downtown, so like you could hear a lot of noise all the time.
Well, the place that I call home is myself. I think that's something I learned a while ago because I never felt like I had a home.
It was actually so much fun and super wonderful.
It was full of color. I just remember picking out like the color palette of my room.
But if I'm thinking about a specific place or setting, the apartment I spent my childhood in Berlin was the first physical home I ever had.
Yeah, it was a tiny little studio, and it was two of my siblings at the time and my parents, and we all shared one room.
And I feel like it was definitely cozy where the bedrooms were because everybody was like nice and close to each other. So I could just hop, skip, and jump and just go anywhere I wanted.
I remember color food and lots of talking, laughing, just conversation. Yeah.
And since we were on the third floor, the trees in front of the window would like cast really cool shadows on like the floor. And I just always remember like looking at them or like tracing them.
And there were definitely some good moments in there, like in between. But when people ask me like what home was like, or like how I grew up, usually that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
I felt like my family expected me to prioritize being the best version of myself.
Academics.
School was top of the chain.
My family and my education.
German grading system is 1 through 6. So 1 is like an A, and then a 6 is like an F tier. So like a 3 would be like a C or something. So it's like we needed to have that or better. Otherwise we would get like things taken away or things like that.
I'm half Ghanaian, so for anyone who has grown up in an African home, you know that is just like top priority.
My siblings, we were all around the same age, and so like as early on as like the age of 7, I would walk my siblings to school, and then I would come home and I would make food for them. So I was like either serving them cereal or like heating up pancakes or waffles or like making eggs, because at that age that's all I could do.
I always remember my mom. She always expected me to just give my best in school, in my friendships, in my relationships, in anything I was a part of.
Both my parents are counselors, so they also prioritize a little bit of like emotional regulation and just like how we speak of ourselves and how we speak of others.
I enjoyed at one point in my life, we would sit around and we would do a devotional as a family. And I think that just brought us together in a very interesting way, which is really wonderful.
For our birthdays, we had a birthday table. So the birthday person would get to sleep in, and then we would kind of like have like this huge, we'd set up a huge birthday table for them. So like we'd have your presents on the table, cards, and then like breakfast, and the cake would already be made and everything. And then you would come out, and then it was like, here's your birthday table. So I think that was a really sweet tradition.
I have a very big extended family, like cousins, uncles, aunts. So the holidays, specifically Easter and Christmas, was just a lot of family get-togethers.
For Easter, growing up, we would like save the eggshells. So like we crack the top of the egg and take out what's inside. And then we wash the eggshell. We call them cascarones, like the shell of it. And then we would dry them and save them for Easter. And then on Easter, you either like paint them, or like leave it as is, but then you like put confetti in it or flour. And this is so strange, and I don't know why we do this, but like we crack them on each other's heads. So like if you want to prank someone, you do flour, but if you like just want to show that you love them, you put like regular confetti.
And I feel like, yeah, that's a really cool tradition that we've always had.
I grew up with people from different backgrounds, specifically different religion and just different tribes, but it still didn't feel like they were very different.
I mean, I did grow up around a lot of different races and ethnicities, but when I think of it in my head, like coming to America, I'm around way more Hispanics than I ever was in Germany.
I definitely grew up with so many people from so many different backgrounds, and I don't think it hit me how much of a blessing that was until I came to Massachusetts.
We lived in like a place where the rent was really low, and it was like a hub for like a lot of immigrants.
I remember just meeting so many people, and it's not like if you're Black, you're just African. We have Haitian, we have Nigerian, we have Kenyan. Even if like you're Asian, I know back when you were younger, everyone would immediately assume Chinese. You can't assume that because you could be talking to someone that's Korean, Vietnamese, like from so many different cultures. So it was a very, very, very diverse pool of people.
I grew up eating a lot of different foods. It was also a lot of different Latinos, so like Salvadorians, Mexicans, Guatemalans, Peruvian, and so like, yeah, they each have their own food, and so I think that definitely shaped my like my understanding of culture.
It was like I was exposed to different cultures, but I was more exposed to like the negative stereotypes of those cultures, which I think about now is very interesting.
In Kenya, where we have a big Muslim population, and in the media you'd see a lot of terrorist stories, and they'd really associate it with the religion, which is true, but I think when you interact with Muslims on a day-to-day basis and you just get to know them for who they are, you distinguish between the act and the religion, because there are a lot of Christians who also do bad things. You don't call it out for Christianity, you know.
My understanding of womanhood has changed so much, and it excites me so much because
when I was younger, I used to see the representation of womanhood was my mom, which was take care of the household, be good at work, it seemed like just juggling different areas of your life.
I didn't really know what it meant to be a woman. I think I didn't categorize humans into any sort of way. I just kind of saw everyone as like, I don't know, like me. But then as I got older, like in high school, it became something so like toxic almost. And I think that's just because of some of the experiences that I grew up with.
At different stages, you are discovering, different things about your body. So like periods and taking care of yourself and, checking to make sure you don't have breast cancer, like different things like that. That made me realize, oh, I'm growing, oh, I'm changing. But then I'm super blessed to have had a mom and other women in my life that are like, no, these are good things.
I never understood like how strong my own body was, and when I was little I thought I was weak because of those things, because I was like, because of my period and I'm tired, like I'm weak and da 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 da. But now I see it as like my body is literally going through so many changes right now, like hormonal and other things, like physical changes. And that's a huge strength because I'm still doing like my daily tasks while like undergoing these changes that I can't always control.
And then now that I'm older, I'm like I still struggle with the idea of womanhood. But for me, when I think of womanhood now, I think of my sisters. I think of my best friend or like my friends at school. Like I occasionally be like, oh, like this is so girlhood. Like
being a woman is one of the biggest blessings I think the Lord has granted me and all of my other sisters, because I believe that womanhood is valuable. I think it's vibrant. I think it just makes me excited to be able to teach other girls and women about their bodies and what they can do, and not just something that's surface level, but something that goes deeper and more like, it's a little bit more teaching them about like intimate anatomy and functions and whatnot. But I'm excited to just teach them because it's like, no, this is what your body can do, this is what it was designed to do, and it's amazing.
The first time I felt like a woman was probably when I first got my period, because it was like the mark of being, now you're a woman, or like now you're not an adult, but like you're now of age.
When I felt like that was actually when I became independent from my parents, and I was working as an au pair in Germany on my own. And then that whole experience really shifted how I felt about being a woman.
I first felt like a woman when I started taking care of myself, both mentally, physically, and spiritually. And it made me realize that I have grown a lot in wisdom, and I've grown a lot in, the knowledge of both what's going on in the world, but what's also going on around me in my own circle. And yeah, oh, that's tough. I think that's when I first realized it.
I used to want to be a civil engineer just because I had seen a woman, the only woman I knew, who was a civil engineer speaking somewhere, and I was like, oh, there are girl civil engineers too, then I want to be one of them.
My childhood felt like dual-sided. It felt like there was this one aspect where I could just play and be, but there was this other aspect of like I had to be responsible from a very young age.
I think some of those activities that are labeled like for boys that I did was actually lacrosse. I mean, lacrosse is a very physical and contact sport, especially for if you're playing on like a boys or men's team.
Yeah, there were some activities that seemed like they were for boys that I couldn't do, like sports, specific sports like soccer. It always seemed like a boy sport, just because I don't know why, but probably that's why I stuck to swimming and track and basketball. But it seemed like something for boys, because even growing up, like when you go to a neighborhood, it was only boys playing soccer.
I wanted to play soccer, and I'd be like, no, it's just a boys' sport. This was elementary school, by the way. I was like literally bug off. Like, I will play soccer with you guys if I want to. Not to mention, I would beat some of them in the sport when we play in gym. So I was like, what do you mean? I could be useful to your team.
I think growing up, I remember a lot of conversations that the girls felt like it was really unfair because in boys lacrosse, you can hit them. Like, you're much more physical, like you can push them more, you roughhouse with them a little more. And for girls lacrosse, you have more restrictions on like how rough you can be.
My parents always wanted me to just like maybe like play with dolls and stuff, but I loved making like cities with books. I would like open the books like this and like throw cars underneath them. And then I also loved dinosaurs. I think it's because I grew up watching Jurassic Park like over and over and over again. So yeah, I think dinosaurs everybody always associates with boys, but I always really loved them. So yeah.
There was one friend I had that I didn't notice her opinions really shaped me actually until a couple weeks ago, because she was constantly talking about how boys would look at women and how they would especially just look at me because of my body type, and that alone would put so much fear in me as to how I dressed because I was so afraid of being an item.
What I didn't particularly like I didn't understand was like that in a friendship, like somebody could like have animosity towards you while being your friend.
I think a lot of my friends had an impact on who I am as a woman. I think who you surround yourself with says a lot about you.
At some point, my body started changing just a little bit, and my friend started also changing. She started getting taller, and I stayed at the same height, and so she looked a lot thinner. We were the same weight, but she looked thinner because she was taller and I was just smaller. And I remember she would say, like, at some point, like, we stopped switching clothes, and she was like, don't wear my pants. And I was like, why? And then she was like, because you're gonna stretch them out, like they don't fit you. I'm like, no, but I'm a 00. And she's like, no, you're not. Like, you're not skinny enough anymore. Like, look at, I'm so skinny or whatever.
I was very adamant, and I thought like my friendships will last for a lifetime, till I reached a point and I was like, you know what, it's okay if they don't, and I do my best to retain my friendships.
When I look back on that, I think my first best friend was also my biggest bully.
There were other friends that came along, especially now, who I think have just shaped the thing, just like my opinions in a positive way. Like, you are a woman, so therefore we have companionship and we get to be close. And we also can still be so weird and so loud and so expressive, and you know, we can still encourage and uplift each other in any ways, and we can even just appreciate what our bodies can do and how we can move and how we can just, you know, sing, dance.
And I have a lot of good friends who are very independent and strong women, and yeah, they always remind me of that a lot. So
we've celebrated graduations, we've celebrated major milestones, career-wise, personal life, and I think it's those things. I'm really grateful to have those friendships, because I don't go into friendships with expectations, so just having that is really, even now just thinking, I don't think much about it, but now like reflecting on it, I need to give them a call. It's really beautiful to just think of how we've really grown.
Culture definitely shaped my view of how I saw myself.
I think maybe one of the big things, and I don't know if this is just like a German cultural thing in general, but I do think there's a lot of like, you shouldn't be too loud. So there was a big emphasis on like, be a little bit more quiet and peaceful.
It was just always that like, that narrative that was pushed on me, like, you're just too much. Like, oh, you think everything's funny. Like, that's not funny. Or like, oh, like, you laugh too much. Oh my gosh, you're so loud.
Always be kind. Always be positive. Always be loving. Don't complain too much. Yeah.
But like, it was really just me being myself.
It was more with the older generation. Because when I think about like my aunts or my cousins, or just like people who grew up after the war in Germany, they're very more expressive and open.
I do have positive experiences. I just think most of my life has been shaped by those experiences, and that's why I think I am more toned down now. I like have a hard time being myself in front of people, or like just allowing myself to be who I am.
I felt pretty safe in my environment, even though I did have a lot of limiting factors, quote unquote, that were discussed previously. I was able to make a safe space for myself to still be myself.
I guess I wish people understood that women are fragile, and it's not a bad thing.
I think a lot of the stereotype is that women are too emotional, that they're too this, too that. But I think we can be both things at the same time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Being a woman is just showing up as your best self, as your authentic self. And I just wish more people didn't hold certain stereotypes or expectations of women.
There's so much to us than just what you see on surface level, not just with our struggles, because we talk about that a lot, but also in the ways we can be celebrated.
We're not hard to understand. I think that's the phrase I've heard from so many guys, is that women are hard to understand, or women are crazy, or like things like that. And I think that's not very true. I think that it's really easy to understand women and people in general if you're listening, and if you have the emotional capacity to listen.
If I could tell my younger self anything, would be to just love yourself more, and you're gonna be alright. Just love yourself more and give yourself more grace, and everything just goes back to what my mom said: just do your best. Just do your best, everything else will fall into place.
I'd tell my younger self that she's loved.
You are loved, even if you don't think that. You are loved just the way that you are. Don't change anything about yourself. Don't change for people. Don't make yourself smaller for people. Don't be quiet for people. Just be yourself, and just know that you are loved by someone, and somebody loves all of that craziness and loudness and all of that. Like, everything that was too much is not too much. Like, they love that about you, and that you're perfect enough. Yeah.
I would tell my younger self, I'm so sorry that you were not loved in the way you could have been, but I am so unbelievably proud of you. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. I am just so unbelievably proud of how you have so persevered and how you tried to find a way, even when it looked like there wasn't. And you have been setting yourself up for success without even knowing it. So, good job, girlfriend. Oh my gosh. LOL.